Good morning. Today I am going to start chapter 1, Civics, Standard 7, on the direction of the CBSE through the online classes. As better understanding about the student of Standard 7, it is quite essential to understand about the social science related to the chapter 1, Civics as a part. This chapter indicates about the story of democracy. A story of democracy declared and described as about the matter concerned to the chronological order as phases of democracy. First phase of democracy before 19th century, second phase of democracy 19th century to 20th century, and third phase of democracy 20th century until. So that democratic journey related descriptions given as chapter 1 as a story of democracy. It is clear that history of democracy indicate about it introduced by the Greek from the 5th century BC. Accordingly, the direct democracy concerned to the matter will be discussed in Greece from Europe as about the 5th century BC. Then after those flourished as about the rule of the people through the equality, freedom and liberty. Equality represent about the equality before law among the people without any discrimination. Without any discrimination on the basis of the caste, creed, sex or the religion, concerned to the equality given as about the principle of democracy. Next to the freedom and liberty are the component of the democracy which led to the freedom for all as about the livelihood and the living affairs of the people on the basis of the particular constitution, because constitution considered as the living document. Those became as living document because constitution provide the rights and duties of the citizen as well as the rights and duties of the government. Governmental rights and duties enshrined by the particular constitution as directive principle of state policy, and people's or the citizens' duty enshrined as compulsory about the fundamental rights. So now let us about the Greek as the 5th century, where the direct democracy relate to the fundamental right will be discussed through the constitution as about the power and limitation of the citizen as well as the power and limitation of the government. Next to the in England Magna Carta, through the declaration of King John on 1215 CE, those will be decided as about the legislature, executive and the judiciary through the curtail of the power among the king or the monarch. American Revolution also take place, and where the democracy will be introduced by the Thomas Jefferson in 1776 through the American Revolution as Boston Tea Party, when the protest against to the British power or colonial power take place. And after that, where the American Revolution will be forwarded by Thomas Jefferson, and which led to the retained constitution in USA. So that next descriptions of the democracy or democratic journey come out through the Bill of Rights from England in 1792 as about the equality before law and other freedom given by the English government. As a formation of the National Assembly take place in France after the French Revolution. We are already know about the French Revolution. In Europe after the Magna Carta from England. Accordingly in 1789 among the French society will be subdivided between three groups. We are already know before as about the French Revolution provide the different type of the facts concerned to the democracy as about the legacy of French Revolution like equality, freedom, fraternity and justice. All are about come out with the help of the protest against to the Bourbon dynasty who ruled over the France, and French society will be subdivided between the three groups. First group ruled over the France considered as clergy who became as 20%. Those group became as administrator from France. Second group as a nobility who became as advisor of the clergy, and third group as a middle class where the businessmen, farmers, traders, laborers, weavers and shopkeepers and others who became about 60%. So 60% became haven't and who suffered from the levy. Those levy will be imposed by the king or monarch like the Louis XVI who imposed the tithe and tally. Tally became as a direct tax and tithe as indirect tax. Those imposed by the Louis XVI against to the 60% people who belongs to the middle class. So 20% clergy and 20% nobility became as privileged class from France against to the revolution take place in Bastille, and those revolution considered as 1789 revolution of France and who declare about the rights of the man and the citizen. Rights of the man and the citizen will be come out with the help of the declaration of the Constitution in 1791 from France. After that, the march to democracy took place in 20th century. In 1893, New Zealand opted about the democracy and first introduced about the adult franchise. So adult franchise will be introduced from the New Zealand of Europe in 1893, and after that in France, where the 1789 when the only active male citizen have the right to vote. Those who became propertied have right to vote, and all about the women and others non-propertied male citizen became apart from the right. Those struggle continued in France. First country from Europe as New Zealand who given as adult franchise in 1893 as about the self-constitution will be introduced, and accordingly absolute monarchy from New Zealand, from France, from England and other parts of Europe became abolished. Then universal adult franchise will be declared by the New Zealand, and after that those spread over the European nations. End of the colonialism also took place in Europe, and accordingly all about the destruction against to the absolute monarchy, dictatorship, and the absolute power will be abolished, so that end of colonialism take place in Europe as well as the whole over world. Civil rights movement also forwarded in Asia, Africa, South America, and other parts of the world. Civil rights movement were there, were considered as the right to livelihood against to the discussion or the protest take place by the people from the world. According to that, Asia and different part of the Central Asia, East and West Asia, African nations, and the South America as well as the North America, all the parts of the world where the civil rights movement will be forwarded, so that the Declaration of Human Rights 1948 from France as well as the European nations led to the descriptions over the world concerned to the story of democracy. We are already know before as democracy is a system in which and by which people decided all about. So that first phase of democracy who became as experimental, second phase of democracy as a chronological order who became as the expansive, and third phase of democracy as today or recently those spread over the world about the 200 countries of the world where the democracy. Few countries under the influence of the other country, those became trying to become liberal with the help of the trusteeship council as UN main organs. So UN main organs also try to overcome about the problems of the non-democratic nations from the world with the help of the peacekeeping force as well as the spread of the democratic ideas over the nation. In this way, this chapter indicates about the introduction of the democracy over the world from the beginning, from the expansion and from the stability. Related to the stability take place today, those became come out from the introductory as a 5th century. After that, from Greece, and after that 13th century from England as a Magna Carta by the King John, as well as the 17th or 18th century from USA or North America, as well as the England, France, New Zealand and other parts of the world led to the spread of democracy by the end of colonialism. So colonialism will be over today with the help of the democratic ideas. Democratic ideas also highlight the equality, liberty, fraternity, justice and adult franchise. All are about the matter will be discussed to the introductory as a chapter 1 as well as the next chapter from the civics of standard 7 as well as the next classes. Previous class, a student of standard 7 already knows about the matter concerned to the democratic ideas with the help of the constitution. We are already know before as constitution is a living document which led to the rights and duties of the citizen as well as the government. Citizens and the government related to the duties will be discussed with the help of the constitution. So constitution of a particular country indicate about the working of the democracy through the electoral politics or the electoral competition. Those electoral competition led to the introduction of the student about the universal adult franchise apart from the any discrimination of the caste, creed, sex or the religion. So related to the discrimination as a caste, creed, sex or religion, concerned to the matter also discuss as about the story of democracy. So a story of democracy clearly given as a consequence for the better understanding of a student of standard 7. Those who understand about the birth of democracy, expansion of democracy, as well as the stability of democracy with the help of editorial given as chapter 1. So chapter 1 related to the editorial indicate also the social, political, cultural and administrative as well as the economical changes. After that, as a consequence about the chapter concerned to the question, first one as a story of democracy, view about the story of democracy, concerned to the history of democracy, birth of democracy, as well as the expansion of democracy, and today as about the phases of democracy and related to the livelihood and the declaration of the democracy through the story of democratic politics. Thank you. Thank you. Have a nice day.